What's up, everybody? It's your favorite This Magic Moments favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Flame Toys Tarn. Couple logistical things I gotta get out of the way straight away. This was given to me as a gift, and they shouldn't have. And when they did, I argued with them for what felt like 20 minutes, trying not to accept it. I'm not good at getting gifts, for one, except for my wife. I take those very graciously. But generally speaking, I'm not great at it, and they shouldn't have. And they were trying to pay me back for hospitality and other contributions I've made, and I didn't need that, especially not from these gentlemen. Usually when I get something sent to me from a viewer that's part of a show, I shout the show out. I'm gonna link their show in the description. This was sent to me by the Breaking the Mold guys, namely Gary G Money, Energon Addict, Big Dom, Hurricane BX, who has his own show, Verbally Challenged, Brian Brink, and JD, who I just had the pleasure of spending an evening with recently, so to speak. I appreciate it. They didn't have to do this. They shouldn't have done this, but I greatly appreciate it. And as Robert D jokes, I was saying no, you shouldn't have, as I was putting the receipt in my other pocket. That's not entirely true. They shouldn't have. I try not to accept it, but they were pretty adamant, and here we are. They actually text me and apologized for it being a little late, to which I responded, that you promised, I ain't trying to hear that. Obviously, just joking. I'm still not quite over it. That being said, thank you guys. You didn't have to. You shouldn't have again. Let's look at accessories. First thing he comes with is a stand. Now, it's a great stand, but this company makes really great products, so we're gonna start being a little critical, right? And it works just like Drift's one, at least as far as I remember, which is to say you could plug this in either here or here, and then there's this bar here that you can place in different positions, and then this moves up and down, and then you can lock that in using this tab, and then this also moves, I believe, by pulling it out and then pushing it back in, which should probably be a ratcheted hinge. Also, the other thing to talk about is I think it's time we went ahead and put like a little plaque on the front. I think we've earned that at the price point. So it's a very functional stand. It works very well. I think some aesthetic improvements could be made. In inserting the base, you just find a little notch in his nether regions, as it were, and insert. He comes with this backpack, fully painted, gold metallics, silver metallics, purple metallics, copper metallics. Like, it's just, you know, it's beautiful, as they tend to do. These two bits here are on swivels, so they can go back and forth. You can also remove them, extend the handle, and then he can kind of hold this like a mallet if you like, or it can just sit extended on his back. And this piece extends for a cooler, wickeder look as well, with silver and copper paints up in there. So really quite nice. For the back plate, you have this tab here, which will attach to there, and then this whole gray piece moves so you can bring the shoulders up and over to the top of the head. He comes with the dual fusion cannons. Look at yourself. Has a metallic finish on it, as well as some translucent purple parts that kind of give the look of the light up feel. Some silver paint, gold paint, etc. It's painted to the nines. The cannons themselves have these moving pieces for handles and such that can be utilized both in single mode or combined. So you can hold on to both, and then there's this actual extension piece, which this folds out, so you can hold it kind of like a, you know, like a Gatling gun or a mini gun or whatever. So that's pretty cool as well. This hinges or swivels here and then hinges out here. And what else I like about them is that the gripping handles, the way that they're engineered, most of the bulk of them kind of fold up. Like this piece folds up inside to make it a little bit more sleek when it's collapsed. You can also combine these by taking off this one, which is easy. It has a little handle for you to pull off. You can just set that to the side. This one can be a little bit more stubborn. Let me get my little tool in here. We'll take that off, at which point you can put this back. The other one that you took off of this one, you can put in here, and then you can put the cover of this one back on so that it's all encompassing, and then you can combine these two, and you have the super ultra mega cannon, and there's a little extension here as well. And this turns really quite beautiful, smart, and elegant. All of the gun plugins work just like you would expect from kind of typical Masterpiece style transformers, where it plugs into the palm of the hand and then you sort of sort the fingers around it. Then you have the two arm shields, both painted to the nines, different colors of like a silverish purple, silver, and then the black. These pieces do come off on both sides, and then you can just reinstall them back on if you so prefer. This one is a little bit more complicated, not really, but same sort of deco. You can open up these tabs here on both. There's a little notch that'll help you push down to get these smaller pieces out. We'll set this aside for a second. We'll get our gun. Then you want to take this one and put that one towards the back. Let's see here, with the corresponding slots. And same for this one. And then you're mounted up and ready to go. To connect the arm cannon, there's a long tab here, and this piece will actually push in to allow it to connect. Same for the other side. Gimmick-wise, it has the removable face shield. You just pull it off. Be careful, because these are, you know, like very dainty, not dainty, but tiny and thin kind of angles in order to get the sculpt right. To have the glitch face underneath, that is all sorts of scarred up, marked up. Looks great. We have the gray paint underneath, and then all of the weathering around the scars and such. It looks absolutely, positively fantastic. He also has light up features, and they include them by already installing them. All you have to do is pull the protective tabs to make the connection, and then you can press the button right here to turn them off or on. It's a sliding switch, which lights up the eyes. I mean, even with the harsh lights on, it's beautiful, but let's get them turned off or just come on. There's a few more we'll look at. He has one on each side of his legs, and you can pull those off. Same sort of protective tab to make the connection. Flip them on, install them back in. Look at those purple lights. Just beautiful. We'll take a look at them all lit up. There it is. And lights off. Amazing. And we can finally talk about the figure. So let's get started. I took off all the accessories and stuff for the sake of showing. The head is on a ball peg at the bottom of the neck into the chest. It would have been nice to have one from the head onto the neck, but I guess with the light up feature, that's what they sacrificed for it, which I understand. Even using that single ball peg at the bottom, you can get the head fairly far forward, fairly far back, confused dog look a bit, swivel, etc. So articulation is pretty much unimpinged. And then we have silver paint on the side of the helmet. Just fantastic. The little pistons on the neck are painted. I'm not sure if you can see that, but like right there, the little silver accents. Moving on, we have the tire treads, which are painted this metallic silver. We have the silver paint up here and then the red paint on top. We have the whole chest plate, which is painted, and then we have purple metallic paint and then the pink paint. And then we have the gold paint on the chest. Now, these wings here do articulate up and down to allow for shoulder movement, which is nice. And then the ab crunch is right here, and watch this piece here, how it folds in. Just beautifully, and you can't see it, but like there's a hinge here at the top of the chest which actually moves this piece with the Decepticon symbol on it. So we'll come back and it'll come out. Beautiful. Also has a teapot hinge, so you can get over to the left and right, and he can be a little teapot. We have a waist swivel. The waist swivel is just a swivel, and this piece, crotch piece here in the front, and this butt plate here in the back will actually move to accommodate it. Just beautiful engineering. We have the kind of translucent over top of maybe silver. I'm not sure how they did that. Underneath to give that luminescent feel, and then we have the silver paint here, and then the purple metallic paint there. Outstanding. All right, so the shoulders. First of all, the shoulders do move out and then in to accommodate movement. We'll get this out of the way. There's a butterfly joint forward and back, which you can see hopefully here. So back and then forward. And then we have a universal joint basically at the inside of the shoulder. As you move the universal joint, this flap here will get out of the way. This whole piece hinges up to get 90 degrees out. We'll back out a little bit. I'm trying to get in tight because I want you guys to see the details. And then we'll move it down. The whole piece moves around. All the joints are toleranced perfectly so far. Now, for forward movement at the shoulder, nothing. which is fine because you can move the whole tank treads. I just want to be upfront about that. You can't, there's nothing here that really moves out of the way. Even though this piece here does hinge up and down, as you can see, it doesn't really help with the movement of the shoulder. But that's okay because the whole shoulder moves. Moving on, we have a metallic purple here. We have the silver paint. We have the copper or gold paint up in there. No issues. Bicep swivel right there. That works perfectly. At the elbow, we have metallic paints, the silver, and metallic paints for the purple. It's a double hinged elbow using both hinges, one of which being here and then the other one being there. You get far past 90 degrees. Should get you everything that you want. And then the purple paint, metallic paint for the arms, the gray pieces there, and then the wrist guard. Now, moving on to the hands. I'm not sure how I feel about them yet. So we'll talk about them. So first of all, they hinge here inside the wrist to allow the hand an upward movement. The hand swivels, so you can get that upward movement any which way you desire. And then you get a little bit of a hinge forward and back. Now the fingers are all painted with this metallic purple, and they're individually articulated, and that's what I'm not sure about yet. Ball peg at the base, kind of like we see with most Transformers, and then it moves down and up, and then around, no problem. 2 hinges for the thumb knuckles. Now for the base fingers, all ball pegged in to the bottom of the knuckles, and then 2 additional hinges fully articulated on each. Now you can get a fist out of this. The joints are a little tight and the ball pegs pop off. That's the problem. It's a tolerance issue. And the reason why I'm not crazy about that is because this feels like a catering move to me. Transformer fans like to have individually articulated fingers, and I remember when I reviewed the RC from Toy World, they weren't crazy about the idea of swap out hands. Now, there's a lot to talk about here. So I'm just trying to articulate each one of these fingers, and it's kind of a pain. It's doable. The slots where the ball pegs are don't have a hinge cut out in them like the thumb does to allow for that movement. So as you're manipulating it, the fingers tend to pop off if you're trying to make a fist. Now on one hand, that allows it to not break, and it's like built in. A lot of higher end toys have this built-in engineering where before something will break, the system will fail to allow you to kind of reset. The reason why I'm not crazy about it is because I looked at their drift, so there's a fist pretty much, and you can tighten this up even a little bit more. The reason why I'm not crazy about that is with their drift, they had swap out hands, and I think that's the best way to go. I'm sure they went with this way because it's a bigger figure and they figured they could get away with it, but as you can see, it's not without issue. So it's not really flawless in that regard. And they've only put out one other figure, but it was fairly flawless. All right, continuing on. This arm is done the exact same way. Moving on to the hips. So we have universals, no ratchets, but they're toleranced perfectly. So I don't really feel a need for ratchets when something's toleranced so beautifully. We have silver paint on the joints themselves, as well as the gold, and then the flat plastic, no issues. Silver paint coming through underneath, and then that same translucent, luminescent looking pink at the bottom. So you get pretty much the full Van Damme and the full Monty. And why, or no, not the full Monty, because this piece isn't going to move all the way out of the way for the back. But forward is what you really need, and that's fine, I think. Now, the reason why I wanted, wait. There, I was just expecting it to move on its own. So you do get the full Monty. You just have to articulate these ball peg pieces here on the fins on the back of the butt plate. What I like about this figure is the front piece, or one of the things I like about it, this front piece pretty much moves on its own. It moves on its own to accommodate the movement. It's very nice. So if you just watch like this fin here, it just gets out of the way. Like, that's awesome to me. I love little tricks like that this company tends to do. We have a thigh swivel built around there, so that's perfect and seamless. And then we have a double jointed knee. As you move the knee, it has some of that stuff that we've come to kind of expect from them. Watch this knee pad move, and then this piece that's connected to it. Pretty outstanding. Like, it all moves seamlessly. It's all tolerance beautifully. And the joint is painted. Pretty amazing. This piece is stationary. It looks like it should move. It's not. Be careful in how you regard that. So purple paint here, silver paint, the luminescent looking paint, all looks beautiful. Moving down to the feet. This is one other piece I have a problem. This piece has a hard time staying stuck in on mine. And it's just this ankle. This one stays stuck in. I'll mess with that later. But just to show you, I guess I should keep it in to keep it fair for the sake of articulation. But I'll show it to you after I show you. I just want to show you how the joint moves. So you get the ankle up. You see this piece covers down. Beautiful. And back a little bit. But up is more important. And you see how the whole thing rocks. This piece rocks, this cover piece here, that cover piece there. Beautiful. And then we have an additional toe tilt right there, which is pretty seamless. And then we have a rocker. The rocker is the only joint that I'm a little, aside from the fingers, that I'm a little critical of. It's a little tight, but it will go. And this piece moves with it. And it's all on this cylinder here where it moves. And it's pretty beautiful. So back. And then back again. Quite nice. Now, I'll just show you the forward movement here while we put this in, just so you can see how that affects it. And it doesn't. But if I just said that without showing, somebody would call me on it. So, and that's fine. Now, looking at the back of the figure, pretty amazing. I mean, obviously it should be clean, but I mean, it's almost just as impressive. All the paint comes through, all the sculpt work comes through. It's a really, really, really kind of phenomenal piece. You know, not perfect, not quite as perfect as Drift, but in some ways more impressive. Size comparison wise, there it is with the MMC Tarn. And we're gonna talk about the masterpiece here in a second, but once again, like, I think this can work if you really, really, really wanna push the point. But while the size is relatively the same, if you look at eyeline, the proportions are just so different. So I just don't think that they're kind of interchangeable, but that's my own personal view. There it is with the G Creations Prime. He's leaning back a little bit at the moment because he's a little off balance on this mat, but I'm not mad at that. I don't think anybody has done an IDW masterpiece scale Megatron from More Than Meets the Eye. I know they did the Stealth Bomber and stuff, but you know, the one that would make most sense looking next to Tarn. So I would like to see what that looked like, but there's a point of reference for you. And there he is next to Masterpiece Megatron. I was curious how this was going to look because it might change the way that I display him, and I don't think it works. I don't think it works aesthetically. Like, it's just too different from the super hyper G1 look. And although the bulk and size is kind of in the right spot, I feel like proportionately it's just off. Like the size of Tarn's head in comparison to the size of Megatron's head. Like, it just doesn't look like it belongs to me. But there he is next to MMC Megatron, and I don't feel like that works either. So it really is a standalone piece, I think, at the end of the day. It obviously will scale with the other Flames Toy stuff, I'd imagine. I don't have the Drift, but I would imagine so. But generally speaking, it's its own beast. Final thoughts wise, let's start with the negatives. Obviously, the most glaring negative is the engineering of the fingers. They could have fixed this one of three ways. Allowed slots for the ball pegs to move at the base of the hand. Had interchangeable hands as opposed to individually articulated fingers. Had better tolerance fingers so when you went to move and manipulate the fingers, it wouldn't pop the ball peg out at the base of the knuckle. And honestly, if they would have gone with a hinge at the bottom of the knuckle as opposed to a ball peg, that may have solved the issue too, but that could have caused some stress and wear and tear on the figure, so I understand not using that one. But any of the three previously mentioned would have fixed this issue. The only other slight criticism I have is it would have been nice to get a little bit more of a head turn left and right, but that's a very minimal nitpick. And I got news for you folks. That's it. That is the only complaints I have. Obviously, far more positives than negatives. This is 100% the most beautiful Transformer I have in my collection. Bar none. And I have the Hot Toys Optimus. This is better. Far better. It's incredible. It is painted out the wazoo. Top to bottom, every detail accounted for, every nook and cranny held accountable to the same aesthetic as the general presentation. Every joint is toleranced perfectly, with the exception of those fingers, and the ankle rockers are a little tight if I was going to to be nitpicky. $400, I feel like it's time to be nitpicky. Every other joint holds perfectly, smooth as silk, with just the right bit of tension to hold any pose you'd want, including this one, which is pretty amazing. Great heft to the figure, tons of die cast and metal used, a presence that's unparalleled, especially with its competition in the field, which I feel like they're only competing with themselves, honestly, and yet still hold themselves to a standard. That's pride, that's craftsmanship, that's stuff that I appreciate. The sculpt is insanely beautiful, as it should be, because it doesn't transform, but to account for all the engineering in regards to articulation, it's still impressive that it's as good as it is. The price is high, but once again, I feel like I know where every nickel and dime went. The accessories all make sense and are appropriate. They're fun, interchangeable, but not overdone. I love that the batteries come installed. I know that's lazy of me, but I do love that. The gimmick of removing the face shield, I expected, but was happy to see it follow through and follow through to the level that it is. And the light up feature is beautiful. I'll turn the lights off one more time. Just stunning. Just in my head, how I've always envisioned Transformers to be. It's a recommend from me, but a pricey one. But once you have it in hand, you'll be able to tell where your money went. Thank you guys that bought this for me. Once again, you know that you shouldn't have. They have a podcast called Breaking the Mold. It's linked in the description. To the rest of you, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.